Let's talk NBA free agency, huh? Because there's a lot has been going on since we last spoke. Russell Westbrook is a Laker, and I think everyone's talking Lakers. Everyone's talking Bulls now, and I think there are a couple fan bases that are probably like, "What the fuck? Like, what are our GMs doing, man? We haven't signed anybody. The guys we have signed, if any, have been like not who we wanted." And I'm talking specifically Celtics and Spurs are two teams that I think everyone's a little like, what's the plan here? And I think they're, not to say that it's all going to go well and both teams are going to have winning seasons, make the playoffs, and, advance past the first round. But just to kind of, assuage some of these concerns, I just want to point out a few things about both teams. First of all, starting with the Spurs. Because listen, I don't know, this Josh Primo pick seems to be like a highly criticized pick. I don't know enough about college basketball. I've heard people say, he even looked bad against some of the guys he played with in the SEC, played against, which isn't a good look. And, he scored 11 points in his first Summer League game. I mean, there's just no way to know. At this point, everyone, is talking about his pop loss, his Magic, Team USA. And I think, let's slow down here, okay? Because Greg Popovich, it's not like a player's drops off and hits a cliff at 37 or whatever. Greg Popovich is the same man he was, 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, whatever they won their last championship. It's not unless he has early onset dementia or something, which we have no reason to believe. There's no reason to think that this guy's the same guy that, led the Spurs to titles. I don't think you should be worried about a coach. Usually just in general, if he has the pedigree that Pop has. So I don't think we should be worried about Popovich. I think there's a push. We need a change. So we need a mix up. I think pretty rarely, should just fire a coach for the sake of mixing it up. I don't know if that really has any effect generally. And the other thing is, so they lost to DeRozan. And you're probably not too excited about Thaddeus Young or Al-Farouq Aminu, and you probably shouldn't be. I like Thaddeus Young a lot, actually. I think he's a really solid, power forward, can play center a little bit for the Bulls. They did last year. And the real key thing is both those guys have only 1 year left in their deal. Gee, a lot of passengers here. Probably shouldn't try and move the phone as I'm exiting the freeway. Both those guys have 1 year on their deal. They just play the season and then their contract is up. So both of them, Thad's on 14 mil, Aminu's on 10. Whoever signed Al-Farouq Aminu, getting him 10 years annually, must have been one of those off seasons that just everyone got paid. So that's $24 million in expiring right there. That's cap space the Spurs can use. Or in a trade, they have a lot more leeway. You're looking at, a young core. Derek White, I think, we haven't seen the best from him yet. Same with DeJounte Murray. We saw flashes of greatness from him this past year. Hopefully if not staying the same, takes another step up. It's hard to be excited about Zach Collins or Doug McDermott coming in. I understand that McDermott's contract's 3 for $42. It's kind of one of those where it's yeah, probably is what he's worth, but you're not happy about it because he's pretty one-dimensional. I mean, he shoots the ball okay. I don't really know, defensively. And Zach Collins can't stay on the court, so I don't love that. It's 3 for 22. I would have liked maybe a prove-it deal, give him 1 year, see if he can stay healthy. But they're willing to take that chance, and and this is true in all of free agency, is these small market teams almost have to overpay to get the guys that they want. That's just really the only thing they have on their side is the money or an X and O's basketball thing. When you think about it, Miami, LA, New York is always going to have the draw of just being a cool city to be in and live in, and they have the culture and blah, blah, blah. So if you're a team like San Antonio, you know, small market. You're not going to get a lot of nationally televised games. And I don't know what the nightlife is like in San Antonio. I can't say I've been there, but I don't imagine that draws many people. So what they've had to do is you either, I mean, there's one of two things. You either grow from the draft, right? And that's, you know, they drafted Duncan and Manu and Parker and, you know, traded for Kawhi on draft night. And that's how you build excellence. We saw that, like, the Thunder had Westbrook, KD, Harden. That's how they got to the finals. And can it work? Yes. I think in today's NBA, like, it's just really hard, especially when you look at the past couple of champions. Like, they usually have all made, like, a major trade. And it's not entirely been built up, you know, from the draft. Sometimes it's kind of a mix of both. You know, if you look at Milwaukee, you know, drafting Giannis obviously is a huge piece, but, you know, trading for Chris Middleton way back, and then obviously the big blockbuster with Drew Holiday. And listen, like, the Spurs are going to have to do the same thing because they're not going to be a free agent destination. They have to get guys under contract through the draft and extend them, which they have with Murray and White, or, you know, you do it through a trade. And so having that cap space, to me, really means, you know, that's either going to be geared towards guys like Lonnie Walker, bringing him back if, you know, they feel like they like him. You know, Devin Vassell, he's someone that, you know, they probably will look at long term. And at the end of the day, in today's NBA, you're going to need a star at some point. So you probably, I mean, Giannis went 15th, Kawhi went 15th. You can find it in middle first rounds. It's just a matter of you really got to hit it. I mean, it's kind of a freaking crapshoot. So I don't. If maybe this Primo guy, you know, who knows? So I don't know. I think Spurs. Obviously, Spurs fans are, you know, used to greatness. Whose phone falls down. I always feel like I gotta like mention how that falls down because it's annoying. If it falls down, I pick up and don't say anything. Spurs fans are used to greatness. And they haven't had it in a little bit, you know, and DeRozan, Aldridge, you know, it didn't work out to get to the same point that they've been at. I understand that, but they're going to have to get used to kind of, you know, it's going to be a slow build. It's not going to be, you know, immediately fixed and it's like suddenly finals contenders. I don't know if that's like reasonable to believe. And the same things with the Celtics is like they don't have the cap flexibility to all of a sudden be champ. Like, I don't know if there's like a feasible thing that they could have done that like boosts them into the same echelons as the Bucks and the Nets and even, you know, the Sixers. I don't know if like Brad Stevens, like you can't. If they could have overpaid Fournier, he doesn't put you over the hump, I don't think. And you could say, you know, like trade for Beal or something, but like I don't think there's a feasible trade in there that like the Wizards would reasonably accept. So I think you don't want to say the Celtics are just going to lose this year, obviously, and I don't think they will. They have enough talent to definitely make the playoffs. I mean, you can see, you know, it's also free agency is not like the end all be all. You have a trade deadline mid-season where, you know, you have to kind of time to evaluate and you look at how your guys fit and see, you know, which guys are standing out through the first, you know, 50 games or whatever. And things can change very quickly. You know, how there's been plenty of mid-season trades that have totally altered, you know, the trajectory of the NBA. James Harden last year. I mean, who knows? Maybe someone gets pissed off during mini camp or something, like Dame sees fucking Cody Zeller and Ben McLemore and is like, these are the guys you brought in? No, I'm out. I know there's this whole saga, but I'm out. Trade me. And whatever team he goes to, suddenly that's going to get a major boost. And if it is the Celtics, if it is the Spurs, I mean, it's not going to be the Spurs, but, you know, and then things turn around. Like, as a fan, you have to have some form of patience and trust in, don't want to say in the process to steal Embiid's words, but I mean, it can't all just change in one day unless, you know, you sign one of these stars, and that can happen. So I don't think there's any reason to panic. Obviously, I think when you look at some of the free, like, there's no correlation between free agency signings and wins. Like, the Lakers signed a ton of guys. you can be excited about it, like they're being active, but that doesn't equate necessarily to wins. Like, we don't know how that's going to fit. And when you bring in 10 new people, like, pretty naturally, it's going to take a while for everyone to gel. So watch, like, if they lose, like, the first 3 out of the first 6 games, everyone's going to be like, oh, it didn't work. They need to trade all their guys. And, you know, it's just, that's how NBA media and fans work, is it's like, we're going to hit the panic button as soon as possible. And the opposite's true, where it's like, oh, maybe the Lakers win the first 3 of their first 4, and they beat, like, the Hornets, Timberwolves, and Kings, and it's like, oh my God, the Lakers are championship guys. Oh, look, I'm in the corner. You know, this was a tough phone day. I apologize. I need to figure out how to keep it there without just moving around all the time. I'm just the corner guy, very cool. But my point is, I wouldn't overreact to free agency. I'm just going to leave the phone as is. I wouldn't overreact to free agency, whether your team signed a bunch of people. I wouldn't get too excited. And if your team didn't sign anyone, I wouldn't get too disappointed. You know, this is a whole process. There's still some free agents out there as of now that could be good roster additions. And so, you know, trust your front office, unless you're like the Kings or Cleveland, who, you know, they haven't had a great history. Then I would be a little weary. But, you know, take it for what it's worth. I don't think, you know, there's still a long time before, you know, opening tip-off, okay? So take a breath, relax, take care of yourselves, and take it easy, and I'll see you next time.